It's a new year, my rowdy friends. Maybe I should start this off with some type of obscure treasure I would recommend for all of you out there to watch. Nope! I'm gonna start by jumping off the deep end with one of the worst pieces of trash I've seen in a long time because I hate myself! When I first heard of this show, I naturally assumed I would have to compare it to something I have reviewed before. The 1983 TV movie The Day After, which was meant to show the USA and the world just what the actual consequences of a global nuclear war would be. And to me, what remains the most important TV movie ever made for not holding back on the message people needed to be told. So, of course, in 1992, the very year the Soviet Union fell, some asswipes at Fox decided to take that concept and turn it into a sitcom! Yes, I freaking said that! This is Woops! So, how does this thing manage to screw up its entire concept from the very beginning? How about the fact that the entire basis of the setting, World War III, is just glossed over in the teaser of the pilot episode? This is all they say. In some podunk middle America town, a military parade is being held, and some kid's radio-controlled Bigfoot toy somehow causes a live nuke included in the parade to launch, and one thing leads to another. How? Forget how that kid's toy could override Missile Command. I'm pretty sure nukes could not be launched from that position. And I'm stuck here battling, wondering if I should get on their cases for ripping off 99 red balloons or making a joke about our nuclear deterrent being run by 8-inch floppies. The narration is coming from this character, Mark Braddock, who says he was at the ATM when the blast occurred and survived because he was in a Volvo. I don't even want to know how much Volvo paid for that plug. And yes, that is future Sex and the City star Evan Handler with a full head of hair. I'm guessing he went all Howie Mandel on himself to try and make people forget he was in this thing. So Mark here drives and then walks across the entire country until he finally finds some place that just miraculously dodged the fallout. If you're expecting an explanation why, so sorry, that would require something that is in very short supply in this program. Effort!
Where am I?
You've passed on, and this is heaven.
Really?
No, I'm putting you on.
2 minutes in, and we already have our first character that I want very bad things to happen to.
Why don't you get him something to eat?
Sure thing. Oh, how about some grilled chicken, a little Dijon mustard, some melted cheese? Would you like that?
Yeah.
So would I.
I'm Alice McConnell. I was at the Every Woman's bookstore when it happened. It's a little place I opened a few years ago after the divorce.
You're a stock analyst.
You may have read the profile of me in Forbes last month. I'm the one who came up with the friendly hostile takeover.
Mr. Thorpe, there is no more Wall Street. There is no more economy. That is all meaningless now.
Don't tell me meaningless. I had a $2.6 million home in Oakmont Park. I had a Mercedes and a Range Rover. I had a loving wife who did charity work and had liposuction once a year.
Dolly Parton was very likely vaporized in this show's universe, and we get these jerks instead. Why am I supposed to look forward to this?
Tell me something. I'm the only black person here, aren't I? There are no others upstairs, out back. Lovely.
If this show wants to be funny anytime soon, now would be pretty good! So yes, as far as we know, these four are the only remaining survivors on the planet, and they are just cheery as ever, despite all of their friends and family supposedly being dead. You all remember that terrible pilot for an American version of Red Dwarf? And how Rimmer's reaction to everyone else being dead was that his baseball cards would be worth a fortune? I can't believe someone came up with something stupider!
Kind of strange, isn't it?
What is?
Well, that this farmhouse survived, that the fallout bypassed it, that none of us even knew it existed, and yet we all found our way here.
That is pretty weird.
Yes, it is.
Not necessarily. Random probability would dictate that some structures and people would survive, and the topography of this valley would account for the lack of radioactivity.
Translation: the writers are incompetent and don't have the capacity to give us a reason. So yes, already our pilot episode has given us the absolute bare minimum of information. We're looking at the last humans alive after Armageddon. We're giving you less info on how they survived than Highlander explained why immortals are who they are. And we're just supposed to expect wacky hijinks now, instead of them worrying how they're expected to live in a world where everything is destroyed. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode The Omega Man did a better job than this. All this would be bad enough, but it's compounded by something I do not say lightly. And keep in mind, I did go to theater school, or at least my creator did. I'm still trying to figure that whole thing out. But I still would never claim to be the world's most foremost thespian expert when I say with total certainty, this is some of the worst acting I have ever seen! I mean it. I cannot think of any time I have seen an entire cast be this stilted, this wooden, this unemotional in a production that actually made it onto public transmission.
As a member of another oppressed minority, women, I understand all too well how uncomfortable you must be feeling now, but please be assured that you are welcome here, O son of Africa.
You got a basement? Maybe there's some black people in the basement.
And because of that, the show immediately fails at the one thing it clearly was supposed to be, a black comedy. These people have literally seen their entire world destroyed. Everybody they knew in the world is likely gone. They have no idea how they're ever going to get food or resources just to fend for each other. And they still come off acting like it's another Tuesday to them. This could pass if one character acted like this, like say the stockbroker, but it doesn't work when it's freaking everyone. Especially the one guy who is clearly supposed to be the straight man in all of this, Mark. The craziest thing is how he seems to be taking it in stride more than anybody else. Granted, we were never told if he had a wife and children, but he was a grade school teacher. He worked with kids. This guy is actually suffering no trauma thinking about how all those kids were callously killed in all of this. And if he just went through all that on his long trek to this place, hey, thanks for eliminating what would have been important character development. Which is just part of another huge problem with all of this. We're not even halfway through the pilot, and everything just feels so rushed. Remember, it took only 3 minutes for Mark and everyone else to find this farm that's clearly meant to be the setting for the rest of the series. At the very least, the first act of the pilot could have been devoted to Mark's journey here and him having to come to terms with, you know, the whole world being destroyed. Now, for what it's worth, that might not have been entirely the fault of the writers. They may have been hampered with this show being so goddamn cheap, they weren't afforded a different full set for that journey. Which, seeing those god-awful driving on a green screen sets, is what I fully believe happened. So apparently, the gist of all this is these now 5 individuals get the idea all of this happened as an opportunity for them to completely rebuild humanity and society into basically what John Lennon sung about.
Could there be any group more ill-suited to the task of rebuilding society?
But that's probably what they said about the Founding Fathers. How many people thought they could succeed?
That's a fallacious analogy. The Founding Fathers were a close-knit group who shared similar backgrounds, education, philosophy, and even familiar ties. We, on the other hand, have absolutely nothing in common. And under normal circumstances, would never associate with one another. What about equal? We got any equal?
So, if this show was being made today, it would get lambasted for being woke. And I would not care. This is a problem because these people are all, well, what's the nicest way to put this? Morons!
There are no instructions on this bag of seeds.
Oh, you're kidding.
Well, surely one of us knows something about gardening.
I can find my way out of a hedge maze.
They're all gonna die and I'm not gonna be sorry for them.
I once took a course in botany, and if I remember correctly, what we want to do here is make a hole in the ground, drop some seeds into it, and put some dirt on top of that.
Whoa, slow down, Doc. Some of us here are laymen.
There is no goddamn way they could bring in anyone stupider than any of these characters!
There's something really weird going on out there. All the buildings are gone, and it's like everyone's left town.
There was a nuclear war.
Really?
New Year, same as the old one, I guess! And then this happens!
It must be some sort of mutation, a result of the radioactivity.
Oh, so this script was made by Kevin Smith! You know I had to freaking say it, people!
Okay, we're ready. Now you gotta get it in the eyes or the mouth.
Right.
You only got one shot at this, so make it a good one.
I'll try.
Okay, now wait until it's looking this way. Now!
Take this, Yaley!
Bullseye!
And now they're stealing plot ideas from The Legend of Zelda! Why does this have to be just water?
6 of the unlikeliest people trying to build a new and better world. Can we succeed? Well, that'll depend on an even more fundamental question. Namely, can 6 very different people learn to live with one another? Humankind looks to us for the answer.
Well, that tears it. The last tube of toothpaste in the world, and somebody squeezes it from the middle.
Humankind may have to be patient.
Or humankind is just fracked. This was just the pilot, everyone. Here's a little summary of what all came after this. The second episode jumps right into the question of how these 6 characters will repopulate the whole world, and of course there have to be jokes about impotence. Then of course they had to have an episode where the group tries to create their own money, and let's just say I think I'd rather trust the Golga Frenchums on something like that. And it's after all that where the show gets really stupid. Like the episode where the feminist finds some magic crystal that, well, remember that episode of Brace Face that we're all shocked got past the censors? Yeah! They even had a Christmas episode that showed Santa Claus is real and somehow survived the apocalypse. Who knew the North Pole had the best nuclear deterrent in the world, huh? Surprisingly, that was the last episode that actually made it on the air. No, it wasn't surprising that Fox pulled the plug on the last 3 episodes that were actually made. The surprising part is that the last 9 after the pilot actually made it! Then again, it was Fox in the 90s, so the bar was set really low back then! I don't know if I've ever reviewed a show before that I went into expecting to hate for one reason and ended up hating it for a whole bunch of other reasons. I expected to rant on and on about this show trying to make light about the morbid seriousness of nuclear Armageddon, but you know what? They don't even succeed at doing that! Everything from the sets to the writing and pacing to the performances themselves give the concept of mailing it in a bad name. It has been a very, very long time since I've seen a TV show that has had so little effort put into it. In 2002, TV Guide named this the 42nd worst TV show ever, and they may have been taking pity on it by not ranking it higher. They called it a post-apocalyptic Gilligan's Island, and I think they should apologize to the crew of the SS Minnow for saying that. I don't care how tactless this may sound, but Woops is absolutely one of the biggest bombs ever! All of this just gave me so much rage, I almost wish I was a giant gorilla that could wreak his vengeance on a city someplace! Oh look! Guess what we have next time! See you later, rowdy friends!